Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something a lot of you have been asking about. Specialized insurance plans.
Mm.
The kind designed for those really serious illnesses.
Yeah, those tough ones.
Exactly. We're talking things like cancer, stroke, heart attack, the stuff that even with good health coverage, like even if you've got Medicare, can still leave you with a ton of bills.
It's true. And, it's interesting. These critical illness plans are actually kind of relatively new.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't really come around to the 90s.
Hmm.
It's like people started realizing, back then that traditional health insurance, it often didn't really cover the true cost of these serious illnesses, the financial burden.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you'd think with regular health insurance you'd be covered.
Yeah.
Isn't that the point?
Right.
So what's the missing piece here?
Well, it's about more than just like the medical bills themselves. You have to think about all the other stuff that comes along with a big diagnosis. Like, what if you can't work? Lost income, right?
Right.
Travel expenses if you need to see a specialist or go to a specific hospital. Maybe you even need help, like with daily stuff around the house. And traditional plans, they don't always cover those indirect costs.
Oh, okay.
So that's where these specialized plans, they try to step in and fill those gaps.
Okay, so let's break it down. What exactly are these critical illness plans? Like, how do they actually work?
All right. So basically, think of them as like supplemental policies. They work with your existing health insurance, but instead of just reimbursing you for, specific medical expenses, they give you a lump sum of cash
Oh, wow.
directly to you as soon as you're diagnosed with one of the covered conditions.
So like a safety net that just, boom, deploys when you need it the most.
Exactly.
No waiting for reimbursements, no restriction.
Exactly. And that flexibility, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Let's say, just as an example, you get a $20,000 benefit after, let's say, a heart attack diagnosis. You could use that for medical bills, sure, but also for things like, mortgage payments while you're recovering. Maybe you want to try some alternative therapies that your insurance doesn't cover. Hire some help around the house. It's all about giving you options, giving you control at a time when things can feel, really overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like having that buffer, to soften the blow so you can just focus on getting better without having to make like tough financial decisions on top of everything else.
Right. And it's not just about the practical stuff either. It's also about like peace of mind. Just
Yeah.
knowing you have that safety net can really reduce stress, reduce anxiety,
Hmm.
which is huge when you're trying to recover and go through treatment.
Absolutely. So these plans they sound like a no-brainer, especially if you're dealing with a serious illness.
Mhm.
But I'm guessing they come with a price tag, right?
They do. But one of the good things about them is that they're designed to be pretty affordable. The premiums are usually reasonable, especially when you consider how much they could potentially pay out. And that peace of mind we were talking about.
Okay, so let's talk about that potential payout for a minute, because I think it's important to understand how much coverage we're really talking about here. Is there, like, a standard benefit amount, or does it just kind of vary depending on the plan?
It definitely varies. The benefit amount, you choose that based on your own needs and your situation. You'll want to think about potential treatment costs, how much income you might lose, and all those other indirect expenses that we talked about. You want to find that balance, right? Enough coverage so you're actually protected, but a premium that you can actually afford.
Right, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. You need to do a little research, figure out what level of coverage makes sense for you.
Exactly. You got to tailor it to your needs and your risk factors. And speaking of risk factors, that leads to another important question. Who are these plans really for? Is this something everyone should consider, or are there certain people who would benefit the most?
Yeah, that's a great question. It seems like, anyone could benefit from having that extra financial cushion.
Yeah,
But are there certain situations where it becomes even more crucial?
absolutely. You're right. Anyone can benefit from that security. But there are definitely some folks where it's particularly relevant, like people who have a family history of serious illness.
Hmm.
Things like cancer, stroke, heart attack. If those run in your family, your risk might be higher, right?
Right.
So that type of coverage becomes even more important.
So if you, like, genetically, there might be a predisposition in your family, it's almost like taking that proactive step, right?
Yeah.
To mitigate the financial fallout.
Yeah.
It'd be huge.
Yeah, exactly.
So who else? Who else would kind of fall into that category?
Well, people on fixed incomes, like think retirees, people living on pensions or disability benefits. Oh, a major illness could really throw a wrench in their budget, right?
Yeah.
So having that extra protection can be really, really important for them.
So for folks who are already, kind of watching every penny, this could be the difference between like getting through a health crisis comfortably and just being completely thrown off track financially.
Exactly.
Okay, anyone else?
Seniors with Medicare are another big one because while Medicare is great, it's essential, it doesn't cover everything.
Right.
So these plans can actually help fill in those gaps. Things like copays, deductibles, those unexpected costs that pop up and Medicare might not cover.
Okay, so even if you've got, the government on your side, so to speak, there's still room for more protection. It's just acknowledging that even with decent insurance, the financial impact can be overwhelming.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's why we're seeing these plans becoming more and more popular. They're a way to address those potential problems, those vulnerabilities, and give people a little more security during those uncertain times.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about, the what and the why of these critical illness plans, but I think it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, let's do it.
How would that payout, that lump sum, how can that actually be used, in a real situation?
Okay, let's get specific. Imagine, you're diagnosed with something and it requires, some very specialized treatment, let's say proton therapy for a tumor.
Okay.
And this type of therapy, it's not available everywhere. So you might have to relocate, at least for a little while, to a different city, maybe even a different state.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds pretty intense, both logistically and financially.
Right, exactly. So suddenly you're not just dealing with the medical bills themselves, but also travel costs, hotels, food, maybe even lost income for you or a family member if they have to go with you.
Right, it all adds up.
Yeah, it adds up really quickly. And a lot of times, traditional health insurance just doesn't cover those things fully.
So that's where that flexibility of, the critical illness payout can really be a game changer.
Exactly. You could use that money to cover those travel expenses, find a comfortable place to stay near the hospital or the treatment center, take some of that financial pressure off of having to be away from home.
Yeah, it's having that cushion so you don't have to completely drain your savings or, go into debt just to get the care that you need.
Exactly. And it's not even just about those immediate costs. Let's say you need a long rehab period or you need to make some changes to your home to make it more accessible.
Okay, yeah.
That's another area where traditional insurance might not cover everything. But a critical illness payout could help fill in some of those gaps.
So it's really about having the freedom to make choices that, really support your recovery, support your well-being in a much broader sense.
Exactly. And even if, your situation doesn't involve extensive travel or special care, those funds can still be really valuable for just day-to-day stuff. What if you can't work because of your illness? That money could help cover the mortgage or rent, utilities, groceries. All those bills, they don't go away just because you're sick, right?
Of course not. It's like a lifeline, right? Knowing that those things are taken care of.
Exactly. It's about reducing that financial stress so you can focus on just getting better. And again, it's not just practical stuff. It's also about having the freedom to make choices that align with, what's important to you. Maybe you want to try some alternative therapies or just take some time off work to focus on your mental health.
Yeah, just regain a sense of control, I think, during a time when things feel, very much out of your control.
Yeah.
So let's say someone's listening to this and thinking, okay, this all makes sense. I need to look into this. What are some things they should consider when they're actually picking out a plan? Because I imagine they're not all created equal, right?
You are absolutely right. There's a lot of variation in terms of what's covered, the benefits, the cost. So doing your homework is really important. A good place to start, I think, is understanding what conditions are actually covered by the plan.
Okay, yeah. That seems obvious, but I bet there are some details there, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So the big ones are usually cancer, stroke, heart attack, but some plans, they might cover a wider range of illnesses. So you really want to make sure the plan you choose, it actually aligns with your risk factors and your family history. If heart disease runs in your family, you want to make sure that the plan covers the specific types of heart conditions, right?
Don't just assume.
Exactly. Read the fine print. Don't leave anything to chance.
Okay, good advice. What else? What else should we be looking at?
The benefit amount, that's really important. How much would you actually need realistically if you got sick? Think about those treatment costs, lost income, all the indirect expenses. It's about finding that sweet spot. Enough coverage, but a premium you can actually handle.
Right, so it's like a balancing act almost. You want enough to make a difference, but not so much that you can't afford the payments.
Exactly. And speaking of premiums, be sure to ask about, potential increases. Some plans, the premium stays the same, but with others, it can go up as you get older.
So it's like any long-term commitment.
Uh,
You got to factor those things in. Make sure you're comfortable with how much it might cost down the line. Any other, like, gotchas to watch out for?
Waiting periods. Some plans have a period, after you enroll before the benefits actually start. So let's say there's a 6-month waiting period and you get diagnosed with something 5 months after you sign up. You wouldn't be eligible for that payout yet.
So the fine print strikes again. You really
Yeah.
got to read those policy documents. Anything else to add to our checklist?
Yeah, don't forget to ask about the claims process. How easy is it to actually file a claim? What kind of paperwork do you need? You want a provider that makes it simple and easy, right?
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with a ton of bureaucracy on top of everything else.
Right. It's not just about the coverage. It's also about the company, right?
Yeah.
Like, will they actually pay out? How do you figure that out beforehand?
Look for providers that have strong financial ratings. And read reviews. What are other customers saying? Do they actually pay claims fairly and efficiently? You can also check if they have any extra benefits like wellness programs or resources for managing chronic illness. It's about finding a company that's invested in you, not just your money.
Right. Okay. So we've covered a lot. We've talked about, like, how those payouts can actually be used, what to look for when you're choosing a plan. But there's one big question, right?
Yeah.
When is the right time to get this kind of coverage?
That's a great question, and it's really important. And it's something we're going to dive into, in the last part of our deep dive.
Welcome back. So we've been talking about these critical illness plans, the ins and outs, who they're for, all that good stuff. But there's one big question, right? When's the best time to actually get this coverage?
Yeah, that's a really important question. And honestly, a lot of people, they wait until they're already dealing with a health crisis.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but by then, it can be too late. Well, because most of these policies, you have to be in good health when you apply. They're designed to, protect you from the unexpected, not to cover something you already have.
So it's like that old saying, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly. You don't wait till your roof is leaking to start looking for a contractor. You got to be prepared.
Right, right. It's like you wouldn't wait till you get in a car accident to buy car insurance, would you?
Exactly. Protect yourself before you need it.
Okay, that makes total sense. Be proactive, not reactive. Especially when it comes to, your finances and your health. But how does this fit into, the bigger picture of financial planning?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember this isn't a standalone thing. Critical illness insurance, it's part of a bigger strategy. It's one piece of the puzzle.
So it's like building a financial fortress, and this is like one of the walls.
Exactly. You've got your foundation, right? Savings, investments, retirement planning. You've got your basic health insurance. And then you add this extra layer of protection, the critical illness coverage.
It's like a safety net, to catch you if something unexpected happens.
Exactly. It's about peace of mind. Knowing you've taken steps to manage those risks so you can focus on, actually living your life, doing the things you want to do without constantly worrying.
Yeah, that peace of mind it's huge, especially when you think about all the stress that comes with a serious illness. Not just the financial stress, but the emotional stuff too.
Exactly. It's about being prepared, taking control, facing the future with confidence.
So if someone's listening and thinking, okay, I want to look into this, what do I do? What's the next step?
The best thing to do is reach out to a financial advisor, someone who really understands these plans. They can help you figure out what's out there, compare policies, find the right coverage for your needs and your budget.
They can help make sense of all that fine print too, right?
Absolutely. A good advisor will walk you through everything, answer all your questions, make sure you feel good about your decision.
So it's like having an expert in your corner, someone to guide you through it all.
Exactly. Remember, knowledge is power. Taking control of your finances, that's one of the best things you can do for yourself.
This has been awesome. We've learned so much about critical illness insurance, what it is, how it works, who it's for, all of it. Hopefully you're feeling a little more informed, a little more empowered to make some good decisions.
And remember, it's never too early to start thinking about these things. The sooner you plan, the better off you'll be.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, remember, it's your life. Plan for it.